Good morning. This is the Water Board Commissioners meeting of June 20th, 2014 at 8:15 in the morning. In attendance is Commissioners Toomey and Ricker and our staff, and our temporary interim superintendent is Paul Provost. And I'm going to start the meeting off by water treatment plant construction. I'd like to introduce John Sikora of Western Sampson, our clerk of the works out there, to present this change order.
Okay, this is change order number 8. There's roughly 15 small items on this change order. And the net change in contract price for this change order is $29,536.
How are we doing with the money that we had set aside, the extra 5%?
So if you take this change order and you add it to the previous change order, previous change orders to date is $93,289. You add 30 to that, you're at around 123. So
And what did we have in that 5% thing that?
so it's roughly $400 and some odd $1,000, 483, somewhere around there. So you're teetering 1% or so for change orders, which is pretty good at this point. Also, as discussed at the last meeting, there's going to be roughly a $20,000 credit for the ledge removal that wasn't utilized on the contract. So it almost negates this change order here of 29.
No, I haven't looked through every one part of it here, but is this through the fence and everything?
The fence, there's a credit for the fence in this change
But
order.
is that included for being put in?
No,
No. So that's going to be something additional.
That would be separate if
no. We would either,
I thought we had to have that in before we do anything.
well, I think we're going to be looking at another change order. Okay, so what could either happen, it would be that the department finds a fence contractor to finish up that with the materials that are on site.
But I know a few weeks ago we started, cheaper to have the guy that was supposed to be doing it, where the stuff was already there and bringing in an outsider.
At this point, since he's left the site, he probably want a mobilization. I did meet with a fence contractor on site who, Water put out, a bid for that work. And I met him on site to kind of run through everything, and he's just waiting on right now what materials are going to be left on site. So once we get either a list or the materials are on site from Kidsman, and I did remind him yesterday that we need that information, then he can just take a second look at his price.
So, but the actual spending of the money to make that happen would either come through the department or we could make it through Kinsman?
You would get correct, and again, if it does come through the department, it will go through the contract. I did contact DEP, SRF, and they did say we could add a line item.
Okay.
So it would be a funded, a line item that would be funded.
Okay. So, what about the gentleman that was out there before for Kinsman? Is he interested in coming back and just finishing it, or?
We can ask the question. I figured we'd wait to see what this list is, get the price.
Okay.
From the prices that came in, at least the labor quotes were kind of right in line with where we thought they'd be. So we'll just wait on that, and I think we can finish that up next week
Okay.
and make a determination.
I think downtown had a question about warranting that work. I don't quite understand what's
Yeah, basically, you're gonna have a 1-year warranty on the fence up to that point from the contract, and then your warranty for the other work, you know. It will be 2 separate warranties. We're using the same equipment.
Okay, so that, all that is taken care of, so.
We'll see where the prices fall. If it doesn't make sense to do it with Raleigh Water, then we'll put it back in the contract.
Okay, so.
But again, that price may go from 8,500 to, he may want 10,000, an extra 1,500 to mobilize, which, you know, is somewhat reasonable to bring the crew back out there when they were already there and could have completed the work.
Okay, so then, the best situation is just, you can make sure it goes into a line item with the SRO.
Right.
Okay. So that,
Either way, it gets funded.
yeah, okay.
We're just looking for the most cost-effective way to complete it.
Okay, that's much appreciated by the board.
Of that, punch list that we're talking about downtown,
Yes.
how are we doing? Are we anywheres near, or?
Yes, all the life safety items are pretty much done. I sent an update last Friday, an email to everyone downtown and the water commissioners who are out there too. They're making headway on it. At this time, you know, the most important ones were getting the life safety issues out of the way.
Let's just go over the,
Go over these quickly.
quick, just run over.
So
on-
the first one, as you guys are aware, was for the sewage pump station control wiring, and that was already approved previously as a separate line item.
Yep.
And that was 10,248, and that's item 1.
Okay.
We don't spend a lot of time there because
We
we had already approved that. That was
Okay.
item 2. We deleted a section of grading in the aerator room. It was basically open to the raw water wet well. We decided what we should do is close that area off with concrete, so nothing could fall into the wet well, therefore protecting the water supply, you know, for the town. So that was short money to do that, $868. We had item 3, we had 2 steel columns that were in the lab. They kind of protruded off the masonry veneer. We needed to wrap that in order to put the window in, so it had an enclosure, so it was weather tight and or moisture tight from the other side of the process room. Due to that CMU enclosure, they had to reconfigure a little bit of the cabinetry for the storage for all the lab supplies. So there was some work involved there, and that was $1,776. Item number 4, the loading dock canopy had some anchors on the inside of the building. Those were protruding where they would have hit the overhead door. So they installed some pressure treated blocking for that. And that'll also help with the longevity. It gives a place for the tracks to really secure too. So that was $1,133. Item number 5 is that fence credit of minus, it's a negative number, $4,446. Still, just to bring up the speed, this is change order 8. There's 15 items. They're roughly $29,536 total. Again, we were talking about there's still a $20,000 credit coming for the ledge removal, so you know, basically the delta would be $9,000. Item 6, to provide additional roof penetration and flashing for the vents and the flues. Flues and the vents were required for the HVAC and plumbing venting. And again, an item like that wasn't the original cost. No one carried that, so you're seeing that for the first time. Item 7, I know we touched on this a couple times. This was an important one that we ran into during, just before startup. There was 2 4-inch flow meters that Paul Corporation needed to install. You know, it's proprietary equipment, something that they designed and realized they needed 2 more flow meters on their equipment. And that had to be, Paul sent those to the site, but they needed to be installed by an electrician and mechanical contractor. And that was $5,703. And again, all these numbers here, there's, the backup is all provided here, and that was checked in the field versus the hours for installation and pricing. Item 8, this one was out there for a while. We finally got it back from Kinsman. This was a request to modify some of the piping at the raw water and the finished water vertical turbine pumps. Basically, laying lengths of some of the equipment that were in there weren't going to work, but we still wanted to have access to the vertical turbines for maintenance and such if the pumps ever needed to come out. So there was fittings involved, and this is for 4 pumps, so this price actually is quite fair. And that was $4,146. So again, that's a maintenance, a future maintenance item that will save you money in the long run of having to remove several piping connections. At this point, all you need to do is loosen several bolts, and you can pull those pumps out. Item 9, the janitor's closet was supposed to have ceramic tile around the entire closet. Looking in the field, that was not needed. We figured we could get a little credit out of that. The mop sink is in the corner. We made sure that was all tiled around that. So we received a credit back of $660 for that. Item 10 is to provide conduit wiring for the control of the projection screen in the training room. Power and control there is required for the full operation of that screen. Again, this wasn't shown on the existing drawing, so it wasn't carried. Therefore, Raleigh Water didn't have to pay for it the first time. Item 11, someone could look at this as silly. Why do you need? This is to provide an additional shelf and closet rod for closet 102A. There's a lot of lab equipment, jackets, respirators, things like that. They shouldn't be thrown in the corner. They all should be hung up so they last longer, basically. That was $418. Item 12, if you go back early on in the project, they had to Paul again had to resize the tank. With that resizing of that tank, some additional piping needed to be completed, and that's what this is here. This is the $3,090 to revise 8-inch piping. A little bit of labor, not a lot. This was mostly materials. Item 13, the short story is the showers in the men's and women's bathrooms that were originally specified. I don't believe they could get those, or these are shorter now. So something had to be done on the area just above the shower to keep it the moisture from getting in. Problems down the line. This was $892 to install an additional backer board and then having that tile there. Item 14 was to provide labor and materials to lower the ceiling in the men's and women's locker rooms and bathrooms. This was mostly due to the light fixtures weren't going to fit the way the truss installation was. The light fixtures were on site, they were more expensive to ship out, get new ones. We decided that the best course of action here was to lower the ceiling, and that's what we did there, and that probably would have been more expensive the other way. And that was $1,429. Item 15 was a more recent one. There's an exhaust fan in the lab, and that exhausts through the building, up through the process area, into the attic, and then out through the roof. It is open by code, it needs to be open. There is a drain assembly for that fan in the attic. So we decided we were gonna hook up a 1-inch tubing so that would have an area to drain out, so it doesn't drain back into the building, which could cause a maintenance nightmare. That was $1,375. Kinsman, with each item, not every item, but some of the items requested time extensions, additional work sometimes requires additional time. Again, the associated time extension is 32 calendar days. The cost is, again, $29,536. Like I said, all the backup is here, it's been reviewed. And Weston Sampson is recommending approval of this change order.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve this change order.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so do I sign right here, John?
Yes, you can.
Who's the certification on
That is for DEP.
Okay, so I
So
sign
you
well
will
water.
sign under Raleigh Water.
And this is 620. And Barbara Cooks. Okay, so you can take this one here. Do I need to have any other copies?
I'll give you a final, fully executed, signed copy. If you could sign all of those, I'll take those back.
Oh, you want all of them same? Right, just the same person?
Yeah, the same person's fine, it doesn't matter. We'll get all the signatures and then I'll get it back to the board. It has to go to Kinsman next. Then Barbara Cook and DEP, and then I'll get it back.
Okay, John. This one too?
It's usually
This
six.
is the last one, John.
It
You're not
is.
gonna sign.
It's usually 6.
Okay. Okay. That takes care of the change orders. Geo-ambient, find out about last bill. That is an interesting quandary. There was a budget presented to us before about John's remaining money in the budget. As I recall, and maybe you gentlemen can remind me, or refresh my memory, we went to a selectmen's meeting and we had $12,000 transferred. And we came here, I think Stu wanted to limit that. I think we limited it down to an amount of money. And I can't remember what meeting that was. You guys remember that? Didn't you limit, and at that point, what I did, I says, okay, so we needed to get things going, so that's why we asked you to look into the SRF. And you found out that it was eligible to be covered on the SRF. So now it's going into this money of the 12,000, and I have several emails into the town treasurer to find out how we should proceed with that, because I don't want to go over our budget, and I can't remember what it was, because it was 12,000, we got a transfer, but then we weren't going to spend that kind of money on Mr. Hargraves, but he's approaching the $12,000 now.
I thought we had a number of 12, and that was it.
Yeah, do you recall anything, Scott?
There was something, 5 and then
Yeah.
I believe it was extended.
So, I'm not sure how we should proceed. Should we see if we can take some of that money and put it into the SRF, or should we take this amount of money? I don't, but things gotta be done before the end of the fiscal year.
I
And
think,
they're pointing the finger at you to get this thing, why come you didn't do it, you know?
well, first, I can help out, I just need invoices. If the invoices from the treasurer, from the town treasurer's department, or even from John, if the invoices can come to me, then I can put them in with the next SRF reimbursement.
Okay.
And again, we have a letter from SRF DEP stating that that value is approved.
So I guess I'll make a motion that we would leave it up to our town treasurer to decide at this point before the end of the year if it would be beneficial for us to transfer this money over and re-invoice it out through John Sikora, with our clerk of the works, so he can get it into the SRF pool, or just keep it as is. I can't make that determination.
Problem we have, Tim, the water department has money. They putting it through SRF, you're paying interest on that money instead of using the money that we have.
Okay. All right, so with that in mind, I think that Karen can handle that and say, okay, we're gonna just take our money that we have and spend the money. So, but if need be, she can provide, the next invoice or invoices
Yep.
to Sikora to get that going,
I
okay?
just need if we have a final invoice or the last invoice with the amount billed to date, we could even put that in.
Okay. Okay, so that, if we needed that to bring him in and extend his involvement, we could do that. But we would be under budget here, and we could go forward with that, if the board decides to do that, so, okay? So, I guess the motion would be that Karen makes the determination for that.
I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Punch list in timeline, so, you go, prepare to look at
Yeah,
that.
so Kinsman's still on site, they're working on those items. Again, the life safety issue is just gonna come down to this, down here, this telephone line status, we'll kind of mix those together. At this time, those items on the life safety list are pretty much completed. The exception is the fire alarm final testing at the treatment plant. And that right now is tied into a hard line from, telephone hard line from Pingree Farm Road to the treatment plant. Recently, Verizon was out there getting ready to pull their lines and found a blockage in the town's existing conduit. So Verizon went out and really was great help to the town and excavated that just yesterday. I did an inspection of that area. It looks like they were able to pull their string line through. I'm waiting to hear back from Verizon, but I would assume the next step is to use those lines they pulled in to pull the actual wire. So I would see, hopefully that will be happening either today or early next week.
What happens after that? So they pull the line in?
So they're gonna pull the line in. Raleigh Water hired an internal company to come in and wire the telephone system, and that was done this week. So everything inside is ready to go. Maybe just a few connections. Once that telephone line comes into the building, there's a telephone box there. Everything needs to get terminated. At that time, we'll let Kinsman know, okay, that we have an operational telephone system. Please schedule the final fire alarm testing.
Okay.
Looking at that, that's probably, there's a lot of pieces and parts there. I would say probably 2 weeks. Kinsman's just as anxious to get this all going as everyone else is. So I'm sure he would push to get those people in to do the testing.
I drove in the other day, it looks very nice around there.
Yeah, it's really coming along. The final paving and things like that aren't gonna happen until the plant's actually up and running, because we need to take number 5 offline and cap the old water main that used to go from 5, because now 5 is gonna go to the treatment plant. So they're not gonna come back and pave a little section, then you're gonna have maintenance issues in the patch, so they're holding off on that. But all the landscaping's done, and the site looks good.
Okay, so let's get back to this, the timeframe involved. So it's hard to come up with a time, because the selectmen wanted the status of the punch list, remaining items in the timeline. So, correct me if I'm wrong, we have Verizon out there now. They've identified one blockage. Do we know that there's not just one blockage, or do we know that,
I haven't heard yet.
Okay.
I'm still waiting here.
so there could be 2 blockages?
There could be another, there always can be, another situation.
So from there, do they have to have a separate crew come in and run the wires, or?
They do, yes.
So then that could happen as early as today and as late next week.
Right.
So, and then the guy that put the telephone wiring inside the plant, hired by us, and coordinated through Kinsman?
PRS group.
PRS Group, okay, so they're out of there, but did they have to come back and make the connection?
There's gonna need, someone's gonna need to plug a few wires in, yeah.
Okay, so he could be on vacation or something, because if he's approaching on the 4th of July weekend.
Right. And that's the other issue, is we are approaching that 4th of July week.
Yeah. So, you think that it could be as much as 2 weeks before we can even get
I'd
that?
say at a minimum.
Okay. So, if we had to turn the plant on sooner rather than later, we could go with a remote wireless
Sure.
unit.
And we've been talking about this for months. So what they have in the plant, which is typically, in this case, it was designed for backup. If your telephone system went down, the hard line, Raleigh Water wouldn't be without communication. There's a cellular dialer that is connected at the treatment plant that could send out these alarms that the telephone line would.
So is it already there, John?
It is there, yes.
Okay. So, we could have hooked that up a couple weeks ago, but why couldn't we hook it up and get that?
Well, it's looked at as a temporary measure, but, it would be good, maybe we could communicate with the fire chief and see. He would like to see the whole alarm system tested as one unit. And again, for life safety things, that's probably a good idea. In this case, where the Raleigh Water needs water, it might be good to try to get him on board to see if this cellular dialer situation might work.
Okay, so that's kind of the focal point here, to try to get this thing wrapped up sooner rather than later, is to see if he could say that's okay temporarily,
Right.
and then the building department may issue a temporary occupancy permit, right?
Right.
Okay, and then we could get this plant finished, because we would have to run the water from well number 3 to maintain the supply we're getting from well number 5. Okay,
How long is it gonna take for 5 to be down?
6 weeks was the estimate. Yeah, there's 6 wells, Paul?
6 wells
6
right
wells.
now, 3 are working right now, at 60 each.
It took almost 2 weeks to redevelop 3.
and that's one well. We're talking about 5 wells?
6 wells.
6 wells.
But they're figuring they can do, basically 1 a week. They may be able to do it quicker. It just
Okay.
depends on the condition. We know there's two two there that really need to be cleaned, there may be some additional
Okay.
time there.
All right.
But again, that's, we need that completed in order to, to do final completion of the project. And that can't go offline until, the treatment plan is run.
Or we buy water.
Or you have to buy water if, we're here in the hotter months here. And I know that 5 is only producing right now 180 gallons a minute.
As a total of the 6 wells?
That's a total.
Only 3 right now, we're going.
Okay,
Yeah,
a total of 3.
yeah.
Okay. So what, so in order to get this thing going, what should we really look at? We have, basically it's 2 options, whether we can get a temporary occupancy permit through, the approval of the fire chief.
Right.
Okay.
And building inspector.
And building inspector, well, the fire chief first,
First, and
then the building inspector. You're going on vacation next week.
Correct.
Before you bring the fire chief up there, can you just smooth it out the road a little bit so it's at least
We
in a
did-
good mood by the time he gets there?
So we did have that discussion with the fire chief. The contractor did go out there and regrade the road. They spent a day moving material around. So yes, that was done at his request. The fire chief wrote a letter to the town administrator and with what he was looking for. We pretty much addressed all those items. Again, the issue of the phone line. We run into the problem. You have a blockage in the conduit there. That's not a typical thing, although it does happen. And that's where we are now. If the blockage wasn't there, this would have been done several weeks ago. We wouldn't be having a conversation.
So we need to move this thing on, because I don't want to talk about this 2 weeks from now and say we should have done this and should have done that. So what should we do as a board as far as get this?
I would communicate with the fire chief and see if he's willing to accept as a temporary measure, the cell dialer. Give a general alarm of the system.
Would it help if we had a vote here to request that?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to request John to contact the fire chief today.
I'll make that.
Stu,
Okay.
second? Okay, all in favor?
Right.
So then you've got a pretty busy day before you go on
Sure.
vacation, so
Okay.
I'm sure you're gonna enjoy yourself this vacation. All right, so, and then from there, is it this board's desire to get a temporary occupancy permit based on that? If that thing does come to play with the fire chief approving that temporary thing. So a motion would be, should we request the building department issue a temporary occupancy permit until he feels that a permanent one is,
Well, he's gonna have to walk there and look at it first, right?
right? I mean, these guys gotta do it, so we need to get it going, so.
And again, it's temporary. He could put a time limit on it.
Yeah.
He could say it's 30 days, but at least it gets it going, and then, maybe he comes back
Well, I'll
and
make
sees
that
the
motion,
progress.
we get a hold of the building inspector.
Okay, so if the fire chief approves it's a temporary measure until we get the permanent lines in there, then we could, ask the building department to give us a temporary thing to get us going, so. Do I have a second on that motion?
Excuse me, John, is that interior wall up to the top between the wall and the ceiling, has that been sealed up yet?
It is not. That is not a fire code issue. We went through that. That is just a standard punch list item, as there's several still on that list.
Because he was mentioning that, the fire chief.
Yeah, and we sat down with the architect, and it's not,
Did everybody run that over by the fire chief?
we did, yeah. He was in that meeting. There was several people in that meeting, and it was discussed with the.
He's
fire
okay
chief.
with that?
Yes, he is, yeah. And again, we'll get that taken care of. It's just a standard punch list item. It's not a fire protection item. The biggest items were, where the fire alarm system was tested, and fire stopping between the two walls, and all that fire stopping has been completed.
Okay, so that's the timeline for everything. Is there any other issue, or like the fence? So we still haven't figured out the fence.
So I'm gonna take that information, I'm gonna get back from Kinsman Subcontract and let us know what they're leaving us for, or all they want for fencing supplies or materials. And then the fence contractor, who is the lowest, can look at that and just double check their price.
All right, John Hargraves came in. Do you have any comments about the fence, John?
No, I don't. I guess we can take a look at the 3 estimates that we have and contact those people again and possibly get some more.
Yeah.
That might be worth the time.
Okay.
Excuse
And
me.
sorry, I missed, I could have, I thought the meeting was at 9 o'clock. I apologize for running in here late.
Okay.
Excuse me, John, would Kinsman subcontract the fence man, would he come back and do that?
He probably would, when I was telling him earlier when we were talking about it, he's already off-site, he may require a remobilization fee, I don't know, it could be $1,500, I'm not sure what it would be, that would be a total of $10,000. I met with one of the fence contractors today, we could see where this list is and see where the numbers come out,
All right.
and go that route.
Cheapest and quickest.
I agree.
Okay. Did you have any comments, Paul?
No, we are gonna be meeting with Ipswich and Georgetown today to check their availability.
To buy water?
If we have, if
Okay.
emergency basis, we're gonna find the connection over here.
Okay.
We talked to Byfield the other day, and we're gonna go see the Georgetown people today.
So we have 3 options?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
We'd have to lower our tank for the pressures, but Georgetown's higher than us, Ipswich is lower than us, and Byfield's lower than us
Okay.
on the pressure, so
Alright.
we just have to drop our tank down
Okay.
for emergency basis.
But that's an expensive option, isn't it?
It is, it
To buy
is.
water.
We did buy water last time, Tim, and it was pretty expensive from Georgetown
What would the estimated cost be to do that? To buy water so that this...
we bought for well
Six
2
weeks.
last time for, was it 6 weeks? And it was like $10,000.
Yeah. So it's roughly $10,000 to buy water to get that done.
But we gotta check availability.
Well, can you find out if the pricing is any different from...
I can,
You talk to him, he asked about mutual,
yeah.
stuff, because, everybody has problems,
Well, we gave them water once last year when they had, it was the year before, they had the big fire at the
Yeah,
apartments.
we didn't charge them, I don't think.
We didn't charge them and then they charged us,
Okay. So I just,
not being negative.
well, I don't know. I mean, what are the other, but you're around the whole Commonwealth, what do the other outfits do?
Most of them have meters,
And they meter it?
yeah.
Do they
We were
have-
doing an estimate from Georgetown on their extra usage per day,
Yeah,
and we were going at 100 gallons a minute on the 133 in their connection there.
okay.
I think there's another one in Georgetown that goes underneath the highways and connected to us somewhere. I can ask Rob Dash over there, he's the foreman.
Yeah, okay. What I would like to do is maybe if you could just put a memo to the commissioners,
Okay,
and it's just say, hey, you got connections here, here, and here.
yeah.
These are the people you contact, just as a documentation thing, so if anything does come up in the future.
Well, I want Rob and whoever to have that list too, in case.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
For emergency, what's our backup plan?
Good, okay. When Roy comes back.
Okay.
So the telephone line status, we've gone through that on the punch list, okay? Yeah, what time do you have to take off?
I'm gonna be out of here by 10 quarter past.
1:15?
Yeah, I gotta be in Danvers for 10:30.
So you gotta be, 10 minutes more?
No, I think another half to.
Okay, good, all right. So let's wrap up the Paul membrane bond.
So,
Unless there's some other things we should discuss about the timeline. Okay, any other questions?
no, I think we know where everything stands right now, we're just kind of waiting on that deadline. All the other items were, the life safety items were completed, and there's some small punch list items that, in any typical construction project, just out there until final completion. The Paul membrane bond, John, did you ever have a discussion, John Hargraves, with them?
I
regarding
was
that?
poised to do that, and we canceled that for political reasons.
All right, so basically, the Paul Corporation, who supplied the membrane filters, in the contract, there was a process performance guarantee for that equipment. At this time, they sent this performance guarantee in with markups on it and changes they would like to make. Weston and Sampson took their document and, sent it back and told them they had to remove those changes. They since then have asked to speak to the town directly to see if they could negotiate some of these changes. Again, Weston and Sampson, first take on it was to remove those markups and send it back and have them do what was in the contract. It's basically up to the Raleigh Water and the board if they'd like to entertain any of those changes and speak to Paul directly.
I would be able to recommend to the rest of the board whether if there was a number error or something like that to their contract, but I think we ought to ask for a motion here, whether we should just accept those changes or, not accept them. What's the consequence of not accepting them?
They have to go back, it's, they have to go back to the original contract, and that's what was in the bid specifications. I do not believe that was brought up at bid time.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend allowing Paul to clarify his position, in a short letter, so the board could review it, just out of courtesy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Definitely not.
I want to move this stuff on. We need to get a lot of this, our plate or our desks clear here, of a lot of the issues.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good.
So, do I have a motion that we write a letter to,
But Paul writes the letter explaining.
Paul, make a motion that we accept a letter from Paul explaining their detailed position on their requested changes?
So what's this gonna cost?
Well, they're gonna have to come back with a letter saying, we would look at the letter saying this is why we want the changes on the contract.
I mean, if Weston doesn't recommend it, well, you know what I'm saying?
Weston didn't recommend it. They just said that we'll have to talk to the town to see if you want.
They're requesting to talk to the town, because that's who the contract's really through. When it's all said and done, Weston Sampson won't be here anymore. You'll be calling Paul Corporation and say, hey guys, it's year 3 and the equipment, which we don't see this happening, but maybe it does. The equipment's not working correctly, you need to come back and fix this. Well, that's what this is. This is the contract for that guarantee.
So it's a guaranteed thing, so if they want changes, they know that Weston and Sampson doesn't agree with them, but they want to talk to us, and we could look at that. If they, would like to tell us in detail what they're,
The thing I'm saying is that I don't know a thing about ball name, more than you do, and the fire selectmen or anybody else down there.
Yeah.
So I mean, if Weston Sampson says
Well, we would give it to either back to John for his input, or John Hardware's for his input, to tell us what.
I mean, I don't know nothing about it, I mean,
It's a
they can come in
courtesy.
and explain all they want, but if Weston says the thing isn't needed or don't want it or whatever, I mean, it makes more sense, right?
I see it both ways. I think it might be a good idea to just kind of see what they have on paper, what they're describing. You guys at least can say you've looked at it. And you can still make your recommendation at the end and say, well,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna stay behind the professional we hired here.
That's what I mean, I don't know nothing about that, you know, it's just.
Well, I think we all don't know much about it, okay, so it's just a courtesy thing, let them.
Let them educate everyone on what changes they wanna make and why.
Why?
Maybe they do make sense. You know, we don't see it that way as of right now, but if they can kind of change everyone's
Would
mind.
one of you people come to the meeting so you
Yeah,
can ask
yeah,
questions?
Right,
Well, we might not even have to have a meeting,
right.
we could just have them write an explanation, and then,
Yeah, go over it with Weston and.
Yeah. well, we would see it and say, okay, well, I think we agree with Paul or Weston, so it's a matter of getting, giving them the opportunity to, satisfy their requests,
So I'll
so.
go on that.
And documenting is the way to go these days, as you know,
Yeah,
so
so-
let's get it all out.
I'll second that, before we decide whether or not to take, action on this, you give us an explanation, so. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, so, that takes care of that issue for temporarily. All right, the other thing that comes into play here, and I think you should still remain here, I was made aware that, I didn't get sworn in until June 9th, so all the actions that I did on the board here,
They're null and void.
null and void. Okay, so what we need to do is to revisit some of those issues we decided on, and either consummate the vote, or if necessary, some of the meetings you weren't here, okay, so it would have been me and Stu voting, and if, we don't agree on what we did back then.
How many meetings have we been talking about?
Well, we're talking about between May 6th is when the election occurred, and June 9th.
So what are we?
May 13th and June 9th.
Is it May 13th?
And June, May,
Right.
12/01, May 14th to June 10th.
Well, we had a meeting on May 6th. And was that election day?
No,
Okay. When was election day?
the 13th.
Okay. So May 6th is out of the mix. All right, May 13th, we voted to appoint Peter King as primary operator. And we went, and we know that we needed some coverage for the vacation time for Rob. We got Weston and Sampson a contract, and we voted on that. And there may have been a few other issues we voted on, so what I would take a motion is that we reaffirm our vote for May 13th.
I would have to go over and read my minutes first.
All right, so we
Hold on
have
something I don't have to
May 13th, it's right here. It's right there. You remember, well, you want to take a look at it?
Yeah, just a quick question. Refresh my memory.
I'll vote on something, regarding Weston Sampson's, contract sale. The other thing can wait till the next meeting.
What other thing? We voted Peter King as primary. All we're doing, Stu, is just we're straightening out a.
I know what we're doing.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the votes we took on May 13th, 2014, because of, and I apologize, I've been really busy with a lot of things, and I just didn't get down to see Susan to get sworn in. So I can't apologize enough. So in the effort to rectify this, this is what we decided to do. So, all in favor? Aye. So May 13th, May 20th, same thing. That meeting, we were all there, and reappoint interim superintendent, vote on primary operator, seasonal labor, weekly, we interviewed the primary operator, and we voted on that, so you want to take a look at that. Well, there are other ones too, so I'm going to go over the last one
Let me
here.
see the June 2nd one, I was out looking at that.
So, you weren't there, so
Oh, okay.
you don't have to worry about that.
Good.
John, did you get your invoice together?
No. Can have that Monday if you wish. That was on hold mid-May or something, so.
Okay, so can you get it in, so that, I don't know if you were here for the discussion, we decided that we were gonna have the town treasurer look at that to see what's the appropriate way to handle this with your previous invoices, or to go through with the SRF, so.
Mr. Chairman, under old business, I would like to make a motion that, to reorganize.
Okay. When we finish with the other business here, we can do that. I'll postpone that till the end of the meeting.
Make a motion to accept these as written.
So, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Okay, so the May 20th meeting, all the votes we reaffirmed according to that. The only other meeting I can think of, and I couldn't get all the meeting minutes for the selectmen joint meetings, so there was a June 2nd selectmen meeting, it was a joint meeting, and we had one vote there still, and that was to allow our interim temporary superintendent to prepare a letter to deny the request or the recommendation of Weston Sampson. You want to look at that? This was the letter that John Sikora put forward. And do we have a response letter from,
I'm not reading all this meeting.
okay. Okay, so this partial substantial completion recommendation. The board requested we vote to negate that, so do we want to revote that now? I don't want to delay it anymore still, so.
We voted it a few minutes, a while back. to, request a temporary occupancy permit.
That's not this letter, this is something else. It's a concern substantial completion.
I understand that. Temporary occupancy, the permit, take care of this.
Okay, but there's a vote problem, so I wasn't authorized to act on behalf of the water department at that time, so we can either just say that it's just negated, because I wasn't authorized to vote, and maybe that letter shouldn't have been sent, or we can re-vote it, or what do you want to do?
I want to read the whole thing thoroughly, and I can't.
Okay, so right now, the vote that we took is not valid, because the letter shouldn't have gone out. So
I wasn't there, so I mean.
And you weren't there, so. So that brings us to the partial substantial completion recommendation in your letter that you put together. So at this point, with all the life safety issues are about to be taken care of, and we're only talking about a partial substantial completion, which is it intricately connected with an occupancy permit, or is it just?
No, it's generally a monetary value. Also, what it does is starts the warranty on the equipment. So basically, the gist of the letter was a partial substantial completion for all the equipment that passed, or satisfactorily passed, all the testing requirements, and allows the warranty to begin on that equipment and allows use of that equipment.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the value of the contract, you look at the last pay requisition, and say it's at 88 to 90%, you would look at that and say it's substantially complete from you know, a monetary value.
Okay. And also, if you put the thing together, you also increased the benefit of the town to 2%, not 1%, as far as retainage or something like that?
Correct, at that time, and what the contractor said was, well, I don't want to do that, it's kind of a waste of my time, let me finish up some of these items, and then we'll go with the standard, which is going to be 1%.
John, are you comfortable if we vote for substantial completion?
Partial substantial completion, I am comfortable with that, yeah.
All right.
All right, so why don't we do that right now? Do I have a motion? That we vote for partial substantial completion?
I'll vote for that. Make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So what needs to be signed with that?
Well, I could, basically the town will have to put together a letter stating that they're going to issue partial substantial completion with those dates in there to the contractor. And I can get you a form letter that's, that we typically use, what we send to the owner, in this case, Rolling Water, and then he would send that to the contractor.
Well, does it originate from this department since we're the owner? Or?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so we need to get that letter.
Correct, yep.
Okay. When do you need it by?
That would go to the contractor, but we can send him an email today and say, the board has voted and intends to send a letter of partial substantial completion.
Okay. Does that please this board?
Excuse me?
Does that please this board?
Voting for it.
Okay.
The other item is, that partial is gonna turn into substantial completion very shortly, once those other items, those, you know, the phone line is taken care of.
Okay.
You know, it's just a very small, minor change from partial to substantial.
Okay. Okay, so that's done. So, so the only vote in question is the June 2nd joint meeting with the selectmen, so, and if we don't act on that, Stu, it just remains in limbo. It shouldn't have, you know, it shouldn't have been voted on because there wasn't a quorum there for us, so that whole meeting is in question, so, okay? We can talk about it again if something gets resurrected here with the town and us, all right? Meeting to, any other issues that we should pick up?
The gentleman's been waiting several years for that, he's pretty upset. that he needs to get it done.
$5,000?
Well, with some other prices that came in at 8 and 10,000, the resident had to take some. So
They,
it would-
where are those?
He has them, and I guess it would turn down by the board at some point.
Well, with this
No, I'm saying
dollar,
we need 3 bids, what I'm saying.
I'll try to get the copies from him
when did this come in?
yesterday.
Okay, so we gotta put it on the agenda
Okay.
before we start talking about stuff
Okay.
like that, okay? All right, so that's what we gotta do. Any other issues?
I make a motion, we reorganize.
Okay. Do I have a second?
You think it'll help too?
I made the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I'll
All in
make,
favor?
aye. I'll make a motion that Roy becomes the chairman.
Well, we made a motion to reorganize the board. So do we have a vote on that?
Yes, we did, we stood up.
I said no.
Well,
I said, yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so there's 2 to 1. Okay. So then the motion is, he makes a motion, the chairman. You can either accept it, Roy, or not. So you want to take on that with,
I'll give it a shot with the best I can.
okay. So I'm not asking for a vote, so. All in favor, Roy becomes chairman?
aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, so with that in mind, so the vice chair, I guess, is up for a vote. So I make a motion that Stu becomes vice chair.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, of course, clerk.
I make a motion that Tim becomes the clerk.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you, guys.
I'm just gonna need some help with you guys as well.
Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that one.
Before we adjourn, we have this certificate of compliance here for the septic system and a copy of the as-built plan. I can give these to Paul, the acting superintendent, or
And Paul can give it to John.
Carmine within the finals.
Do you need a copy of that, Tim?
That,
Is that on the punch
I'll have to
list?
look at it.
That's all set to go.
Yes, it is, I'll send off, there's a certificate of compliance. Excuse me, Carmine, would you be kind enough to make a copy of this? Oh, you can go out my truck and take another one, there's another copy out there for John.
Okay.
And if you would bring John in a copy, there's another copy out there.
Okay.
Make a motion again.
Well, maybe one more thing. I forgot. There's one other thing we have to do before we leave, okay? We have to generate a you have to write a letter to the town selectmen to lift the hiring freeze for a primary operator. We've lost our primary operator, so they have to lift the primary operator, so they need a letter downtown before they can post it.
That's something down.
Will you write a letter to
Sure.
them this evening?
Write the letter on time.
Yeah.
And to address it to the selectmen, to say that they're gonna lift the hiring freeze for the primary operator. And the other thing is, for the next meeting, what do you wanna run the next meeting?
What do we got pressing?
You
We
gotta
need one next
interview,
week, or we need one we got?
well, we need to interview the secondary operators.
If we got a list of them,
They've already got that list going, so.
you gotta do tonight long as it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, so we gotta do that at 6 o'clock. Okay.
He's coming too.
Yeah, so in that letter, Carmen, you should get the letter going, that the freeze be lifted, and then we schedule the interviews for Tuesday night. So you might have to get involved with that as far as calling them in and putting them on the agenda.
Yeah.
So you can help away with the agenda as far as getting that, the agenda together, okay?
Just remember it's 6 o'clock, 5 minutes. What's that?
Any other issues like,
You take care of
John,
that,
the other thing?
or you make it, I'll run it down, I gotta meet him.
Larry?
Yeah, on June the 10th, you
All right, I'll see.
reorganized
You can make it up real quick.
and for a period of 6 months. So I don't know whether you have to declare that null and void, if you're reorganizing again.
To keep me
I don't
on,
think so.
I might not be.
Okay, I just
Is that what I have done already?
didn't wanted to avoid any problems with, with it not being full term or whatever.
Well, I'm sure I'll hear about it if we didn't do it properly, right? Do I motion to adjourn?
Just so I know what you're putting.
Yeah.
Do we already adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for